What do you do when you need soil with a specific granularity for your succulents or bonsai, but you don't have a soil sieve? You could order one online, but if that's not an option due to budget constraints or long shipping times, you probably try to improvise, like I do. I had a piece of leftover fiberglass mesh, which is used for reinforcing plasters and mortars, so I thought I'd just wrap it around a plastic container and use that as a makeshift soil sieve. While it did do the job, I found the process to be too slow, so I switched to plan B, building a soil sieve from cardboard. It's going to be a round soil sieve, and like all the other commercially available sieves, it will have a reinforced bottom as well as interchangeable sieves. First, let's see what are the main components and how to size them for any given sieve radius. The reinforcement pieces will have to be glued in place on the outside of the sieve, so there will be 2 assembly flaps on each one. The circular part of the main sieve body will be built from a strip of cardboard with a length of 2 pi r, which is the formula for the circumference of a circle, plus some overlapping material to allow gluing it into a circle. Each of the reinforcement pieces will look like this, with the 2 flaps at the ends required for assembly. The distance between the flaps is 2 times the given radius, or exactly the diameter of your sieve. We will need 2 pieces like this, which will be assembled together through a notch we will make in the middle of each piece. For the actual sieve, we will need to cut cardboard rings having the desired sieve radius and the width of 2 cm. 1.5 cm should also be fine, but I wouldn't go lower than that. And we'll need 2 of these rings to sandwich the mesh between them. For my sieve, I used a radius of 15 cm, which corresponds to a diameter of 30 cm. This means the main cardboard strip has to be roughly 94 cm long, plus another 5 cm for the gluing overlap. The bottom reinforcement will be 3 cm tall, with a 5 cm assembly flap on each side. There was already an 8 cm wide strip of cardboard delimited by the creases that made up the box that I'm using, so I decided to use that as the height of my soil sieve. I used the box cutter or utility knife to cut out this long cardboard strip that will make up the body of my sieve. Then I prepared a straight reference edge, marked the length of the circular sieve exterior, and cut out the required piece of cardboard. This strip of cardboard has to be bent into a circle, which can pose a bit of a challenge since cardboard tends to bend along straight lines due to its interior structure. So the idea is to make slight uniform bands along the flutes in the structure of corrugated cardboard by running it across a rounded edge. For bending the piece of cardboard, I clamped a round plastic pipe to my workbench. You could use other things like the edge of a table, for example, provided it's slightly rounded to prevent making very deep creases. I'm pulling the cardboard strip downwards while also forcing a bend into it. This produces more or less uniform creases along the flutes while also slightly crushing them and makes it possible to bend a piece of cardboard into a circle. Before gluing the circle, I marked the overlap location as well as the positions of the bottom reinforcement pieces on what will be the outside of the sieve. I used some wood glue on the marked overlap area for gluing the circular piece of cardboard. To keep everything in place until the glue dries up, you can use a clamp or a heavy object. I ended up clamping the glued area between 2 pieces of wood because I wanted to flatten the joint area. While waiting for the glue to dry up, I went on and prepared the bottom reinforcement pieces. For convenience, I used leftover cardboard from the large initial strip. I transferred all the dimensions on the cardboard according to the plan and marked the area to be cut out. Note that the hatched area has to be slightly wider than the desired inner sieve diameter to account for the thickness of the cardboard, which was 5 mm in my case. I also marked the middle of the piece of cardboard since we need to cut out the notch required for assembling the 2 bottom components. With everything marked on the cardboard, I cut out the hatched area and then make the 2 assembly notches, each spanning 1.5 cm or halfway through the bottom piece. Note that the notch should be facing up on one piece and down on the other piece so that they can be assembled like this. The 2 flaps on each bottom piece will be glued to the circular body, so I bend them along a straight edge. interior structure of the cardboard in this area will be exposed directly under the sieve, which will allow sifted material to get in. So I decided to cover it with some duct tape to prevent this and add some protection against moisture. With all the components of the soil sieve body at the ready, it was time to glue them up and clamp everything in place for final assembly. First, I glued on one of the bottom pieces and waited for the glue to dry up. And then I assembled the other one. Next, I started to build the interchangeable sieves. For this, I laid out the ring shape by drawing two concentrical circles using a makeshift compass. It consists in a leftover piece of cardboard with three small holes, one as the circle center and two at a distance of 15 and 13 centimeters corresponding to the outer and inner ring radius respectively. Then I cut out the two rings using the box cutter. For the first sieve, I used a piece of fiberglass mesh which I stapled to one of the cardboard rings just as you would in upholstery. Then I removed the excess mesh and glued the second ring on top. For the second sieve, I used a plastic mesh with 1.5 mm holes, which was directly sandwiched between two cardboard rings. This turned out really well even though the mesh was pretty rigid. I even went further and made the sieve with 10 mm holes from plain cardboard. But I wouldn't recommend this approach unless you have a fast and reliable way of drilling cardboard, or if drilling holes is your favorite pastime. Here's how the makeshift soil sieve set looks like now that it's completed. You can find the link to the plans for building this soil sieve in the video description below. If you found this video useful so far, please click the like button so it can spread to more people. And now let's test its sifting abilities. I'm going to start with the larger sieve to sift out all the coarse grain material. Soil ingredients used for bonsai and succulents are usually in a dry state. However, if you're sifting ingredients with high moisture content, humidity would be an issue not only for this large sieve but for the entire sieve body. This issue could be alleviated by applying a spray-on cardboard waterproofing solution, which can be found commercially. Some material got stuck in the sieve holes, but I guess this could also happen with other soil sieves. While it does the job, I think the holes are too big, and it's probably the least durable of the three sieves. Next up we have the medium-sized sieve, which is a tighter fit, probably because of my imperfect cuts. One issue that I found with this sieve is that particles tend to get stuck between the mesh and the bottom ring. They can be easily removed, but this might be considered as an inconvenience. This issue is fixed in the finer sieve, which is sandwiched between the two cardboard rings. In terms of sieving, it seems to perform well, and the bottom supports do a good job in preventing sagging due to the weight of the sifted material. This last sieve is perfect for removing the very fine particles in the mix, which could clog the drainage holes. If you plan on building this, I recommend that you use various mesh sizes instead of drilling holes and sandwich them between two rings of cardboard. And here are the results of the entire sifting process. It may not be perfect, but as a makeshift project I'm personally satisfied with the performance of this soil sieve. Like always, I would love to hear your opinion, so please leave me a comment in the section down below. Thanks for watching, I'm Stefan and I'll see you in the next Odd Bonsai video.